friends, my name is Kayla Rain, and today I'm doing my monthly recommendations for the month of March, and this month the theme is standalone novels. So I was a little bit nervous about this theme because I thought it was going to be one of those monthly themes that would be very challenging for me because I do love to read series. I absolutely love to dive into a series and really just get into that world. Not to say that I don't enjoy a good standalone, but in my mind I was thinking I hadn't actually read that many, but it turns out that I've read quite a few standalone novels, and the challenge was narrowing down my list. Because apparently I've read quite a few really great standalones. So I did end up narrowing down my list to 7, which might be one of the lengthier recommendation videos that I've ever put out because I usually keep it around 5 books, but I couldn't narrow these down. I know they needed to be in the video, so it's going to be a little bit longer than usual, but that's okay. But for those of you who don't know, Monthly Recommendations is a Goodreads group that I started with my good friend Trina from Between Chapters, and we do monthly topics for people to make videos or blog posts about and just recommend books based on a monthly theme. And like I said, this month it is standalones, and next month is survival stories, so I'm really excited about that one. But without further ado, I'm just going to get right into my recommendations, starting with The Walled City by Ryan Groudon. Now, this is a historical fiction that is based on the real-life walled city that was in China sometime in the 80s, I believe. And it was just this really awful place that was just... It was like 6 acres of land and like 33,000 people or something all living within its walls. And there was just a lot of corruption because there wasn't any law of the land. And this book kind of follows that idea and that time period. And it follows 3 main characters. 2 of the main characters we know quite a bit about. We know their backstory. We know what the stakes are for those characters, and we know what they're trying to move towards. And then there's another character that is just very shrouded in mystery. We don't really know where he came from. We don't know why he's there. We don't know what he's working towards. And that for me made this book very, very interesting. This book had a very quick pacing for me. I really, really enjoyed it. But those moments that were a little bit more mysterious, I felt like I was able to slow down a little bit with the book and just really get into it. And I just really enjoyed this one. So yeah, I wanted to start my video off with this one because it has been such a great standalone novel. The next book that I have is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is an adult science fiction post-apocalyptic novel, but it is not like any post-apocalyptic science fiction novel that I have ever read. It's so amazing. It follows a theater group who is traveling this post-apocalyptic land 20 years after this flu hits and just wipes out the majority of the population, and just how they're kind of reestablishing their lives and surviving. And this book is just really incredible because it has multiple point of views, and we get to follow all these different ones that are present day and then in the past to kind of see how everything happened, and then everything ties together. So there isn't just a random point of view that isn't important for the story. Everything kind of weaves together really perfectly, and I just loved that aspect of this book, and it was just really fantastic. And this is just such a unique book, and I just haven't read anything quite as unique as this. So I knew this had to be in there, and it's a standalone, which is incredible because all of the information that is in this book is just like mind-blowing all within these pages. Not even like a huge series. These pages right here. Next, I have Far, Far Away by Tom McNeill. This is a recent read for me. This is a very fairy tale-esque story, but it's set in the modern world. It is narrated by ghost Jacob Grimm, and he is sent to this town to protect a boy from something bad happening, but nobody really knows what that bad thing is going to be. And this story is just really beautiful. The way it unfolds and just the writing style is just very imaginative, and this is another one of those books that was just incredibly unique to me. And it could just be that I don't read a lot of fairy tale retellings or fairy tale-esque stories. I think at least I don't read that many compared to others, but this felt very unique to me, and I really enjoyed it. And it was just such a beautiful novel. It was very sad at points. This book was just very depressing in some areas. Like, you just read it and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is awful. But I really liked how it had some high points to it as well. So this book kind of was like an emotional roller coaster for me, but it was really excellent. The next book that I'm going to be talking about is The Fever by Megan Abbott, and this is an adult mystery thriller type book, which I really don't read that much of, but I read this one and just absolutely loved it. It was very gripping. It felt like it kind of had like a supernatural element to it, but as the reader, you never really know what's going to happen next. This book was really weird. It was strange. There were moments when I didn't really know what was going on. I was just like, is this like a mystery? Is this magical realism? Is this like a supernatural thriller? I'm not really sure what's going on, but it really caught my attention the entire time I was reading it. It follows this cast of characters in a small town where these girls at a high school just keep coming down with this fever and no one knows what's going on. They're not sure if they're being poisoned, possessed. Nobody really knows what's happening, but these girls just keep getting sick and it's just affecting the girls in this community and just high school girls. So that's all I'm gonna say, but it's super, super interesting. I really, really enjoyed it. I bet you guys thought I was done talking about this book, but I'm not. I will probably never be done talking about this book. If you've been here with me since the beginning of my channel, then you know I love The Cure for Dreaming by Kat Winters. I freaking love this book. It is a historical fiction with a paranormal aspect and feminist discussions in it, which this doesn't include modern feminist discussions because obviously it's a historical fiction. This is set, what year was this? Like 1910 or something? Let me see. So this was set in the 1900s, like the early 1900s, so obviously there's not going to be a lot of modern discussion on feminism in here, but this does talk about just early feminist movements in the United States, which I'm super interested in, and I love that this was incorporated into a YA book. Like, that's just incredible to me, and a historical fiction with a paranormal aspect and an awesome female main character and just these really interesting side characters. But basically she gets hypnotized. Her father pays a hypnotist to try to hypnotize feminist thoughts out of her head, and then she ends up seeing people as they truly are. So if you are just a very monstrous person, she views you as a monster, like a vampire. And then if you're kind of fading from your life because you're being silenced, like many women during that time period were, she sees them as ghosts and that they're just fading out of this life. And that concept was just very interesting to me, and I just felt like it was really well executed, and it was just a really interesting story in general. So I'm gonna throw this in any video I possibly can where I find it relevant. So Standalone, I was like, oh yeah, Cure for Dreaming's going in there. I know I've talked about it a million times, but can you really have enough of like this particular good thing? I'm just gonna talk about it forever. Please be okay with it. I also have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is my favorite Rainbow Rowell book, and I just absolutely love this. When we picked Standalone for the monthly theme, I was just like, oh yeah, Fangirl's going in there. That's a no-brainer for me. I love this book. I feel like it is very representative of many people who do view themselves as fangirls. I know that I could relate to a lot of different points in this book, but even if you don't, this is just a really beautiful story about a girl who goes off to college and is kind of finding herself and who she is outside of her family and her twin sister and just her old life. And it's just really, really interesting. It's a really great coming of age YA story that doesn't feel very heavy-handed. It's just very lighthearted and sweet. It does have some heavy-hitting moments, but overall it's just this really beautiful story and just top-notch YA. Like, if you're a YA snob, check this out. It's really good. This could redeem your faith in YA if you feel like you can't read it anymore. I love, love, love this book. And I also love other YA books. I'm not a YA snob. I freaking love YA. I'll read it forever. YA is awesome. And finally, I have A Madness So Discrete by Mindy McGinnis, and to my knowledge, this is still a standalone, but I think Trina from Between Chapters maybe asked her about whether or not this was going to have a follow-up, and I don't think she gave a hard no, so there might be, but at this moment, this is a standalone, and you could totally read it as a standalone. So this is a historical fiction that follows a main character who is put into a mental institution that is just very terrible. They treat their patients horribly, and she finds a way to escape, and by doing that she has to help another doctor track down a murderer, and it just follows her storyline from there. And this book was just so freaking good. I absolutely loved this. It was very gripping. The character development was really fantastic. The discussion on feminism and just owning your own body as a woman was really fantastic. Like, can you notice the theme here? You know, I love my strong female characters, and I mean that in like mentally strong, physically strong is fine too, but you know, intellectually strong, just all these different facets to female characters that aren't just, you know, physical strength, because Katniss is awesome and all, but she is not the only representation of a strong female character. So yeah, I absolutely love this book, and it was just really, really incredible to read a historical fiction that got really gritty. It is YA, but it goes there. Man, does it go there. I do want to put a trigger warning out there for sexual assault and rape that is in this book. There is murder in this book. There is mistreatment of patients who suffer different mental illnesses in this book. So all the trigger warnings for that. This is not a feel-good, happy book for the most part. There are some really great moments in it, but this is very hard-hitting, and this is another one of those YA books that I think really steps out of that genre and talks about the important issues in a respectful way, and a way that brings light onto those issues and actually lets people delve into that topic. So that's all I'm going to say on that one, but yeah, I really like this one, and I highly recommend this one, probably the most out of all of them, honestly, because it's really fantastic. So yeah, and it's also from Trina's favorite author, so there's another reason. Okay, so that has been it for today's monthly recommendations. Here they are. I really like all of these books. They are just fantastic standalones. And the main thing about these particular standalones is the fact that they don't need a series. They don't need a follow-up. The story was absolutely complete in them. There was really great world building in all of them. The character development was done very well. The characters started out in a place where they had room for development, and they had that full character arc that I expect out of books, whether it's a standalone or a series. And just the conclusion was really great on all of them. Some of them felt like they had a little bit more of an open ending, but it had enough closure for me that I wasn't left wanting more. I mean, obviously I love those books and I would love to dive back into those worlds, but I wasn't left feeling like I needed to know more. Everything was tied up very well, and I felt like the story really did have a great conclusion. So that is why these books definitely made the cut, because there are some standalones that I do enjoy, but I felt like they were lacking in some areas. So these have definitely stood up to my very critical expectations of standalone books, which I'm much more heavily critical of standalones than I am of series, because I feel like in series you have time to fix some of the issues that you have in earlier books. I mean, not to say that there are series that have issues in earlier books, because I mean, Harry Potter is fantastic from book 1 to book 7. But there are some series that I am willing to give it time for things to kind of work out, for characters to get that development that they need, and the world to really build up to this really fantastic thing. But standalone's very critical of that. So these pass the test, and I love them all. But I will leave all the links in the down bar below. I will put Trina's channel down there, as well as our Goodreads group. And I highly recommend you guys joining the Monthly Recs group. We are a growing community of vloggers and bloggers just doing this monthly topic, and I am just so excited about all of the videos that have been put out and the blog posts that have been put out with each month's topic. And I really look forward to doing this for many, many more monthly recs. Like, I'm so excited about all the ideas that we have stored up, just, you know, shoveling them away like acorns. That was weird. I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay weird.